Let's have a look at this Hasan stuff. So Hasan has, or well, Hasan and his clip channels have put out like a 20-minute segment about the UK election. I saw a clip of it and it looked like he's been. So I tried to look at the full segment, see how dumb it actually was. Here it is. Why I'm worried about the UK election from Hasan. Hasan mentioned my video comparing him to Fuentes. He was mad.
We'll talk about the Tories today and their gigantic, ginormous, whopping L that they received, among many other things. But beyond that, it's not exactly a sign of good things to come. And I will tell you exactly why. Not because I'm some hater who's always saying like, oh, progress is never happening or anything. Good W for Jezza as an independent in Islington. We'll talk about that as well. But
Islington, bro, just stop. Don't talk about my fucking country. Don't talk about my country, Hasan.
Good W.
Fucking Islington, bro. Oh my
Jezza
God.
is an independent in Islington. We'll talk about.
This is the one place he should know about because it's the one politician he's going to say anything positive about here. The one place he should know. And you can't even remember Islington. It's Islington, not Islington.
About that as well, but Tories were so... Scotland didn't even vote for its own guys. Dude, it is pretty crazy seeing this massive wave of support, dude. Reform didn't do well as predicted. Shame that where I live voted for them. Wait, what do you mean didn't do as well as predicted? No, they did gangbusters. What are we talking about? Reform did
Wait, he's retarded. They didn't do as well as predicted. The exit polls said they were going to get, what, 13 or 17 seats, and they got 5. They did underperform, retard. The fuck?
Predicted. No, they did gangbusters. What are we talking about? Reform did predicted as in 13 and only got 5 or 4. No, but
okay,
that's still, guys, in comparison to the exit polls, they did way worse. But it doesn't matter. They still got millions of votes.
Okay, that actually really kind of does matter, actually, Hasan. Getting seats in Parliament is kind of the objective of an election. So if they get less than half of the seats they were projected to, that kind of is a bit, yeah, that does actually make quite a bit of difference. So I don't, why is he saying this? I fucking hate this guy, dude. I knew this was going to make me angry immediately.
The British Nazi Party getting millions of votes. That's not... Reform won second in 98 seats. Like, you cannot tell me that this is not legitimately troublesome. This...
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't totally dispel the fact that it's a concern that they're so popular. That's true. But the idea that it doesn't make a difference, or doesn't matter, that they only got half the seats they are projected to. Dude.
Is the British Nazi Party, dude. It is crazy. And here's why it's damaging, because immediately people start going, Reform isn't as extreme as other right-wing parties in Europe. Like, people are already doing, people have this tendency without recognizing what they are doing to normalize extremist politics. And this unfortunately never happens for leftist politics. It never happens for like socialism. It only happens for further and further reactionary right-wing politics.
Wait, what is this guy going on about? Oh my God. I had a feeling. I saw a clip. Okay. Man, I don't know how to, whether to just lay this out, but I think what I think is going to happen is he's going to say basically, oh, well, yeah, because they elected liberals and not communists, the liberals are going to cede ground to the far righters, and that's going to let the far righters take over in a few years. That's what he's going to say. That's what he's going to say. When the reality is that if you're a retarded fucking leftist like Hasan, who just thinks that fucking there's no problem ever with immigration, there's never ever been a bad effect of immigration ever, and you can literally have open borders and it wouldn't matter. If you're a fucking retard like Hasan and you think that, you are the one that is causing the right wing to take so much power off of this issue. Because there has to be a fucking reasonable discussion about it. You can't just totally say, oh yeah, there's nothing's wrong with immigration, let's stop talking about it. Anyone that wants to, you know, have an opposition to it is a racist, and we can't ever listen to what they say. No, there has to be some actual contending with it. some rational policy and conversation, you know, how many people is it reasonable to let in each year? Is it okay that we've got ghettos full of people that speak a completely different language and can't interact with the rest of the country? Do we think that's the way we want our country to be going? Yeah, that questions that need to be asked. Questions that Hasan is never going to entertain, and no one like Hasan will ever entertain.
What they are doing to normalize extremist politics. And this unfortunately never happens for leftist politics. It never happens for like socialism. It only happens for further and further reactionary right-wing politics. And I don't even think that that guy is like secretly a reform supporter or anything. I just simply think that that guy is doing the predictable thing, that many people do when they see a genuine cause for concern, and then their first reaction to this genuine cause of concern is not to analyze it and go, oh my God, this is damaging, this is terrifying. There's millions of people in our neighborhoods that went and voted for like out and about fascists. Second place in 98 districts.
But they're not out and about fascists. They don't say, that Reform are very careful. Reform are good, at least the top ends of Reform are quite good at hiding their power level. Farage will give it the whole, listen, we're just all about treating everyone as individuals and we want a meritocracy. We don't want anyone to be given an advantage just because they're an immigrant and all this shit. That's how Farage puts it. And that is not being an out-and-out fascist. That is not just straight up going out and saying, oh yeah, we need camps, is it? Like...
is unimaginably bad, especially because of what I said earlier, that like the conservatives, in order to launch a stronger opposition, will most likely play the role of normalizing reform's policies.
Wait, what's this retard? Oh my God, my fucking...
We'll talk about the Tories.
Browser, dude. Oh my God.
The role of normalizing, like the conservatives, in order to launch a stronger opposition, will most likely play the role of normalizing reform's policies. You've seen this already happen with the AfD in Germany. You've seen this happen with Marine Le Pen, the nationalist, the party.
Yeah, and how did that go, Hasan? Dude, I love that Hasan content just ages fucking terribly. Like, every piece of Hasan content is, like, out of date within 24 hours. Fucking brilliant.
In France, it starts off marginal, and then, before you know it, 2 election cycles later, you're like, what the fuck's going on? How do we get here? And there's always people like myself who have been covering this stuff for years and years, who is telling you every step of the way, this is unimaginably scary. Reform nearly got half as many votes as Labor. Quite worrisome here. Yeah, look at this. Labor's landslide victory, Labor's landslide victory kind of muddies the waters, given the way that like British politics works, in terms of what their actual performance in totality looks like. Their actual performance in totality is insanely scary in comparison to former Labor politics and former Labor numbers. And also, when you look at something like this, when you look at the vote numbers across the board, Reform UK got 4 million. That is, like, I don't know what to say. That is so terrifying. That is unimaginably terrifying. That is a red alarm bell. That we're talking like we're nearing re-education camp territory, like immediately.
Dude, come on. What? Dude. What? Does he mean re-education camps for Reform voters, or does he think that Reform are going to institute re-education camps? Because one of those, you know, I mean, maybe we can have a conversation.
Unimaginably terrifying. That is a red alarm bell. That we're talking like we're nearing re-education camp territory, like immediately. Okay, like the British boomer class is out of control, dude. They are so insanely reactionary. Yeah, this is what's important to analyze. Like,
it's not like insanely reactionary. Dude, he's got such a lack of understanding, because he's just made no effort to engage. But it's not being insanely reactionary. It's that over time there has been a long and intense feeling of resentment build up amongst a group of people who feel like their needs have been overlooked, usually working class boomers, while immigrants come in constantly and the country gets worse. And then when someone sits there and goes, "Wow, doesn't it seem like the immigrants are causing that?" Then they buy into it, or you know, and even without that, there's things that happen in their lives, problems that happen as a result of immigration that they feel that contribute to that and contribute to that feeling. And it just takes someone to weaponize it. The idea that it's just, oh, dude, they're just out of control. They're just insanely reactionary. You know, it's been a long build-up because there's unaddressed issues that it doesn't feel like anyone has taken seriously or spoken about in a way that satisfies all parties.
It's a thumping majority without a thumping share in the vote. What could possibly go wrong? Like, Labor doesn't have the popular mandate that that people think it has in terms of the actual seat majority that it has. It's the lowest number of sitting Conservatives in British history. Dude, I don't think you understand. Conservatives are out. Okay, yes, and that's a good thing. 14 years of austerity, and finally the British people were like, bro, we are so poor. What the hell's going on? These guys have fucked us. And I heard this 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was 9 years of Tory austerity. Something needs to change. Obviously, anyone...
Yeah, but who was the opposition 5 years ago, Hasan? Maybe it could have changed 5 years ago. But who was leading the Labour Party, Hasan?
Anyone who was not
the
primary opposition party was going to win this election by a landslide. That's not the question here.
Corbyn could have done it. Corbyn would have done it easy. Corbyn would have still done it. I mean, I know he had like the worst defeat ever like 5 years ago, but Corbyn could have done it. Nothing special about Keir, guys.
That is not the interesting aspect of this election here. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives were able to unite the British public against the Conservative Party. Problem is, they said, we are so poor, and a large population then said, and immigrants are to blame. Yes.
Corbyn got more votes than Keir, I think. That means that's so meaningless. The turnout was higher as a whole last time.
This happened in Sweden. This happened in Nordic countries. This has been happening in Western Europe across the board, okay? Austerity creates more poverty and more economic inequality in the hands of neoliberal governance, and then people experience that economic instability and that volatility, and they go, oh, I'm angry. And then there's one guy out there that says, you're angry, look at those brown people. I think that's the reason why you're angry, right? Or in the UK, it's not even just brown people. It's like, look at those Polish people. That's the reason why you're angry, right? And people go, you know what?
You could argue Corbyn inspired a higher turnout. Yeah, okay. And he lost. What good is inspiring a higher turnout if the other side also turns out to vote against you?
You're right. Actually, it is the Polish. That is the reason why I'm angry. I don't even like their food. What's this about? Or the Muslims. Oh my God, they're coming in numbers. They're coming in waves. Oh my God, they're coming in dinghies. It's the same story over and over again. And I think that that's the reason why you're angry, right? Instability in the hands of neoliberal governance, and then people experience that economic instability and that volatility, and they go, oh, I'm angry. And then there's one guy out there that says, you're angry, look at those brown people. I think that's the reason why you're angry, right? Or in the UK, it's not even just brown people. It's like, look at those Polish people. That's the reason why you're angry, right? And people go, you know what? You're right. Actually, it is the Polish. That is the reason why I'm angry.
This is just a total simplification of what's going on, because there are very real issues and concerns with immigration, and he's just totally ignoring the fact that happens. That there is this real complaint, that there are actual problems.
I don't even like their food. What's this about? Or the Muslims. Oh my God, they're coming in numbers. They're coming in waves. Oh my God, they're coming in dinghies. It's the same story over and over again. And I think that this is legitimately terrifying, especially when you consider that, one, this is rather Pyrrhic in terms of a victory, regardless of the actual landslide in like seats. And not only that, it spells that you don't have the popular mandate. You don't necessarily have the popular mandate. And beyond that, you personally, Keir Starmer personally, has signaled that he will continue.
You don't have the popular mandate. Okay. And that doesn't change what legislation you can get through. That gives Keir a perfect opportunity to build that popular mandate for the next election. He's got the mandate. He has a clear mandate. He can basically put through whatever legislation he wants over the next 5 years.
That you don't have the popular mandate. You don't necessarily have the popular mandate. And beyond that, you personally, Keir Starmer personally, has signaled that he will continue the old school way, the Tory way of operating. Can a left...
What's this article? Keir Starmer's empty promise of British renewal. Let's see this dog shit Al Jazeera article. I hate that Hasan's gay editor throws up these stupid like headlines and shit on the screen as if what he's saying is like backed up by sources. Because it's like Hasan's not read an article in the last 10 years since he left TYT. It's an opinion piece. Wow, great. I love that they didn't include the fact that it's an opinion piece when they flash it up on screen. Isn't that really cool? Thanks, editor. Thank you. As if, like, you know, what Hasan's saying is just fact and you can't dispute it because here's the source. Epic. Jesus. Okay. Recent British prime ministers have been routinely ambushed by reality. David Cameron didn't see Brexit coming. Theresa May underestimated the appeal of Corbynism. Boris Johnson couldn't handle COVID. Okay. Boris Johnson couldn't handle COVID. Liz Truss was removed from office by the financial markets, in calling a snap general election for July 4th, one that he is certain to lose. Rishi Sunak has discovered that his political gifts aren't quite as extensive as he thought they were. What then lies in wait for Keir Starmer? The man is destined to become the next occupant of number 10 Downing Street. Labour leader has carefully positioned himself as a moderating force in United Kingdom politics, a stable, centrist alternative to 14 years of incumbent Tory chaos. For this, he has been rewarded with a 20-point poll lead, prospect of crushing... Okay. Labour's economic policy, the centrepiece of that opaque cluster of ideas collectively known as Starmerism, is a case in point. In a speech to the City of London in March, the party's shadow chancellor, Rachel Reeves, set out what she saw as the primary drivers of British decay: the lowest productivity in the G7, a dearth of strategic investment, and long-term regional neglect. Reeves then hinted at a solution: a new strategic partnership between the state and the private sector, reform of the UK's restrictive planning laws, and a national wealth fund to help channel cash into industrially deprived areas. Yet in the same speech, Reeves failed to acknowledge the central role played by the City of London itself in amplifying the UK's abnormally high rates of regional inequality. Instead, she lauded the British capital's world-leading professional and financial services, only pausing to acknowledge the damage banking sectors can cause to national economies when left under-regulated. The omission was revealing. For decades, the city has acted as a vortex for British investment, draining wealth away from the country's peripheries, Northern England, Central Scotland, South Wales, and redirecting it towards the asset-rich English South East, or just as often out of the UK altogether into offshore tax havens. Naturally, the social effects of this system have been devastating. According to consulting firm EY London, its surrounding regions, which are booming, London and its surrounding regions, which are booming, will account for a full 40% of the UK's economic growth by 2027. The rest of Britain, meanwhile, will continue down the path of Tory stagnation. Okay, but if you use that wealth to put back into other communities, surely you mitigate the effect of that, I would imagine. Is that not the goal here? Under the Conservatives, spending cuts hit poor northern cities twice as hard as they did prosperous southern ones, amplifying health inequalities and pushing local services to the limit. As the party has made clear, Labour might mitigate these cuts, but it won't reverse them. In the next Parliament, budgetary discipline will take priority over social democratic largesse. As if to underline the point, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, the UK spending watchdog, estimates in the absence of substantial tax hikes, saving of up to 16 billion we needed to eliminate Britain's deficit over the coming years. Regardless of who takes power on July 4th, bringing the UK's day-to-day spending balance is one of the Labour's economic goals. Will not waver from strong fiscal rules. Reeves, for 6 years, and economics in England, fuck me, I can't talk, warned in March. Okay. What's the point here? They need to regulate banking, or is that it? Okay, sure. Okay. I mean, I think this is kind of retarded. I don't know that it's really backed up. But I see the problem they're pointing out. That if you've got an unregulated banking sector, then just all the investment goes into the area around it. But I don't see them dispelling the idea that you can funnel that wealth back into other areas of the country. Or just are they just saying that Starmer won't? I mean, sure.
Take a W. I mean, we'll see what happens. Because if Keir Starmer operates in the way that he actually operated, or in the way that he spelled he would operate, which is a continuation of privatization and no actual cash infusions, no way to fix the economy, and no
actual cash infusions. I thought we literally just read that they're planning on making a national fund to send cash to impoverished area. Okay.
The Tory way of operating. Can a left take a W? I mean, we'll see what happens. Because if Keir Starmer operates in the way that he actually operated, or in the way that he spelled he would operate, which is a continuation of privatization and no actual cash infusion.
Wait, this is a... Okay, what's this article now? Keir Starmer's Labour Party wants to continue destroying the NHS. I don't know if I can bother to read this whole thing. Oh my god. Are you going to do this? Everywhere you look in the health service, signs of 13 years of austerity. Yep, blah, blah, okay. Staff are feeling bad. The waiting list for surgery is really long. Waiting lists are really long, costs lots of money. Ambulance waiting times are really long. A&E and collapse. Both opinion polls and recent elections in England indicate that the Tories are on track to lose. Yep, okay, we've been there, done that. There was a major controversy when Starmer's Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, first stated last year future Labour government would tap spare capacity in the private health sector to reduce NHS waiting times. There he was, not for the first time, it must be said, in full concord with the government, which is already doing the same. Last year, Keir Starmer reneged on his earlier pledge to end NHS outsourcing. Okay, I'm not finding... 1 second, let's do a... I can't be fucked to search around for it. I'm sure we'll find it here. See, look, it's so good. Transcripts are so cool.
Will all help to confront poverty. This is something that Labour appear keen on. Currently being built. Will all help to Conservatives. Child poverty has risen by 700,000. And finally, Labour wants to fix the NHS. Now, while they do want to do this by increasing investment into the NHS, they've also pointed out that investment alone won't be enough. Instead, they want to introduce what they call fundamental reform. One of these is to introduce AI to improve the speed and accuracy of diagnostic services. Another is to incentivise staff to carry out additional appointments outside of their normal working hours, something they claim will help contribute to an extra 40,000 appointments every week, or about 2 million extra a year. On mental health, Labour have promised to recruit an additional 8,500 staff trained to help both adults and children with their mental health. something that they hope will reduce lives lost to suicide. To complement this, they also claim that they'll modernise the Mental Health Act, as they claim it's out of date and discriminates against black people. It appears to build on the promise that they've already made in the last.
Well,
discriminates that they'll
the AI doctors
contribute to additional appointments. Agnostics. One of these is something they claim.
I mean, like, what more do you want than them to put a fuck ton of money and hire a bunch of staff and build hospitals and shit? Like, what more can you do? Anyway,
no way to fix the economy, and no genuine improvements in infrastructure, no additional spending on government funded programs, whether it be the NHS, whether it be public transit. If he doesn't do that, and it doesn't seem like he's going to do that, the River Thames is going to be
dude, is this deliberate? Is he doing this intentionally? Yeah, he just said that he's saying there's no investment in infrastructure or anything. Like, I mean, that sounds like not what said in the manifesto, but sure, okay.
No genuine improvements in infrastructure, no additional spending on government funded programs, whether it be the NHS, whether it be public transit. If he doesn't do that, and it doesn't seem like he's going to do that, the River Thames is going to be continuing to fill up with
River Thames. That's... Please, he's got to be joking. He has to be joking.
The railroads are continuing to get worse and worse, and people are still going to experience an affordability crisis that has definitely been a major issue in the UK across the board. This is convenient for the Tories. They can take this time to regroup and strengthen, while the Tory in red clothing takes all the blame for a while. Then the pendulum can swim back to them. Some democracy. Brother, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the pendulum is swinging back to them. Swim back to them. Some democracy. Brother, I'm a
actual average Hasan fan. This is actually good for the Tories. Keir Starmer winning was actually really good for the Tories. Keir Starmer having a insane majority, landslide majority of seats, was actually good for the Tories. They wanted to get raped and lose half their vote to reform. They wanted that, actually. This is how the fake democracy is supposed to work.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think the pendulum is swinging back to them. I think the pendulum is swinging to a way more reactionary nationalism in the UK. I think that they are going to miscalculate, and they're going to see this momentum, and they're going to say, let's align with reform, actually. We'll take their seats. Look at the massive amount of voters that they're able to capture. Let's align with them, okay? Let's collaborate with them. Let's adopt some of their more reactionary influence. Bring it into the party. The Tories are already pretty reactionary. They're super right-wing in general. Rishi Sunak literally was already doing that. The Rwanda protocol is literally, it's some unimaginable cruelty. It's like, it's so perfectly British. I feel like it's Winston Churchill without the keep calm and carry on World War II. We lucked into the right side of...
What's the problem with the Rwanda? The Rwanda stuff's pretty fucked. Yeah, I was about to say, like, you can sit there and cry about it, but Starmer confirms that Rwanda deportation plan dead. Dead and buried on his first full day as Prime Minister. So this was like one of the first things he said was, yeah, we're not doing this retarded shit. It's fucked.
that war politics. It's insane. We'll cover this in more detail in a second. Let's see the broader analysis.
Labour Party leader Keir Starmer required the symbolic approval of King Charles to become the new prime minister after Rishi Sunak handed in his resignation. Sunak's defeat is nothing less than a total repudiation by the British public. MTS Tayyab has more from London. MTS, good morning.
Good morning. Well, what a day in British politics, Nancy. After 14 years of Conservative rule, which saw the party bitterly fracture over Brexit, multiple leadership changes, and erratic internal divisions during times of national emergencies like COVID and the cost of living crisis, British voters have had enough.
I will also say that the global economic crisis across the board, like the global economic crisis in the Western world across the board, has basically been a repudiation of whoever is in power. This spells trouble for Biden's prospects across the board, even though, you know, he has additional issues as well. But I will say it doesn't matter who's holding the reins, you know what I mean? Unless they are actually putting straightforward policy measures to combat the affordability crisis in a meaningful way, it doesn't matter what they call themselves. People are going to be like, no, you're done. It is basically, yes, it is basically a weird time where there is incumbent disadvantage. It's odd. It's not about like, because you see it with Macron in France, okay, center right, centrist neoliberal, getting absolutely cumstered. You see.
Sorry, what? There's incumbent disadvantage. I mean, he's acting like this is a crazy thing, but that's just how it is when a country's going like exceptionally poorly. Also, the Tories had been in for like 15 years. They had an insanely long run. And then had 2 unelected prime ministers in a row. Like, it's not incumbent disadvantage. It's nothing to do with the fact they were the incumbent, really. It's a bunch of other shit. And then, what? How long's Macron been in? I don't know how long the presidents usually stick around for in France. Since 2017. 3, yeah, technically 3. Yeah, you're right. Like, so Macron's been in for 7 years. I don't know how long French presidents usually stick around for. I can't imagine it's usually much longer than that, though. Like, he's acting like it's a thing to do with the incumbents, but these are all parties that have been in for a very long time.
Meaningful way. It doesn't matter what they call themselves.
Yeah, there is a back and forth, and usually one party takes over eventually. Yeah.
People are going to be like, no, you're done. It is basically, yes, it is basically a weird time where there is incumbent disadvantage. It's odd. It's not about like, because you see it with Macron in France, okay, center right, centrist neoliberal, getting absolutely cumstered. You see the Tories in the UK after.
But he did, wait, and then he was wrong about that too. Macron didn't get absolutely dumpstered. He didn't win, but he's second, right? Or well, the results aren't in. I believe exit polls are showing him at second. And then the far right, the what is it, the national whatever, I can't remember what fucking Le Pen's party's called. They're last, they're third. Right?
Neoliberal, getting absolutely cumstered.
Yeah, obviously it was right when he said it. Based on his information at the time, it was right, but it's just funny that his political analysis ages so poorly.
Or what they call themselves, people are going to be like, no, you're done. It is basically, yes, it is basically a weird time where there is incumbent disadvantage. It's odd. It's not about like, because you see it with Macron in France, okay, center right, centrist neoliberal, getting absolutely cumstered. You see the Tories in the UK after 14 years get eviscerated. People are just like swinging. They're swinging at whatever they can. Mexico's a great example. Mexico, on the other hand, has actually implemented certain policies that were broadly popular by the Mexican electorate, which is why they voted for the same party again. Sure, there were a lot of issues, but that's why I said, unless there's something that your current government is doing.
Well, Boris did Boris win an election? He won the leadership contest. That's how he got in, right? And then it was Truss, Sunak. But I think he won the election, right? But that's not how he got prime minister. Yeah, he won 2019, but he didn't. That's not how he became prime minister. He became prime minister through a conservative leadership election, right? That's right. Or am I tripping? Yeah, Johnson defeated Jeremy Hunt in the 2019 Conservative Party leadership election. And on 23rd of July 2019, it was appointed Prime Minister following day. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. And then called a general election for December.
that people see as like a legitimate way to like try to stave off further issues. And if you are in the Western world, if you're in Western Europe, you definitely aren't doing enough because, you know, there's not a lot of momentum in that direction. Not a lot of momentum in either direction, really. And the only changes that can come will happen in the direction of further right-wing slants within governance, whether it be like raising the retirement age, whether it be you know, trying to continue neoliberalism, trying to continue austerity in whichever way they possibly can, while packaging it as like, well, this is the sane, reasonable thing to do. Okay, last time Labor had a super majority with Tony Blair, he said he regretted not being more progressive. I feel that Labor will do the exact same thing. This man, Keir Starmer, as far as I understand, unless he's been just like secretly faking it, and he actually is a socialist, but he's been secretly.
Are Labour yours progressives or Democrats? Not really. It's not quite comparable. It's like the Democrats. They were progressives and liberals in Labour. Even more like socialist types, or well, they were until like Corbyn and shit left, kicked out.
Faking being a centrist in order to, like, I guess, I don't know, in his own calculations, not put the fear of God in a bunch of reactionary British voters, unless he like changes course on what he has messaged thus far. I think he's going to be more right-wing than Tony Blair. I hope that's not the case, but it doesn't seem like I'm wrong so far. Anyway, let's continue.
And as Big Ben strikes 10,
okay,
the exit poll is predicting a Labour landslide.
Okay, sure, whatever, Hasan. Okay, I mean, obviously, yes, I think it's fine, whatever. If Hasan wants to think that, Hasan can think that. I don't think in policy here is going to be more right-wing than Tony Blair. I understand why you might think that Keir is more right-wing because of the way they've played the election, because it's all been very, you know, they've been very tepid and not said they're going to do anything crazy. But now they're in. They have pretty much explicitly said we wanted to set a low bar and we want to exceed that expectation. So they've said, listen, we can be really modest. This is a really modest policy. And then now they've got 410 seats. Maybe we'll see some fucking changes. Obviously, you can't prove that. It's all, you know, so I don't even blame retarded lefties for being like, oh, he's more right-wing than Blair. It's like, whatever. Sure, if you want to think that, you think that. But, I mean, we'll just see how it goes. But I just know these people, no matter what Keir does, Keir could do, like, the most amazing shit ever, and they will never change their opinion because they've decided he's a liberal, and that means that all of his policies have to be not good enough, and it will never satisfy them. And they'll always just want Corbyn.
Unless he like changes course on what he has messaged thus far, I think he's going to be more right-wing than Tony Blair. I hope that's not the case, but it doesn't seem like I'm wrong so far. Anyway, let's continue.
And as Big Ben strikes 10, the exit poll is predicting a Labour
Brexit's been and done. Brexit happened, bro.
Slide.
Even before a single ballot was counted, it was clear Keir Starmer's Labour Party had won a massive majority. And as the vote counting went into the early hours, it was confirmed.
We can now say with certainty that Labour have won the 2024 general election.
For the Conservatives, the defeat wasn't just crushing, it was a near annihilation. The worst result faced by the party in its 200-year history. Major figures out of job.
Well, I'm glad the others are zoomed in for that. That's great.
Result faced by the party.
Thank you, editor. Thanks, Austin Ox.
It was a near annihilation. The worst result faced by the party in its 200-year history. Major figures
that really
out
makes
of
the video.
jobs.
I mean, dude, they deserve so much worse. I'm be honest with you, like, they deserve to be imprisoned. This should have been nipped in the bud in the Thatcher era. They should have just straight up done like... Dude, they deserve so much worse. I'm be honest with you, like, they deserve to be imprisoned. This should have been nipped in the bud in the Thatcher era. They should have just straight up done like a people's tribunal on the entirety of the Conservative Party and sent them off to the mines, okay?
How can you call other people fascists when you're literally just like, oh yeah, I want to jail all of my political opponents and send them into the mines? Like, dude, I
deserve so much worse. I'm being honest with you, like, they deserve to be imprisoned. This should have been nipped in the bud in the Thatcher era. They should have just straight up done like a people's tribunal on the entirety of the Conservative Party and sent them off to the mines.
Well, he didn't say their families too.
Okay. Instead of privatizing said mines, they should have kept those mines. They should have had state-funded mines that they shipped Thatcher and all of the Tories to, and then done a serious re-education.
Like, dude, he just...
But they didn't. And the Tories have dominated British politics for a very long time. Specifically, the last batch was the past.
The thing is, he obviously doesn't, like, seriously believe this should actually seriously happen. But what else, like, if you don't have any rational solution to give, or any sort of serious, rational, like, reflection on the facts and what could be done, then why be a fucking political commentator? Why have you made this your fucking job if you just want to sit there and virtue signal about how we should lock up all Tories and send them into mines?
Should have had state-funded mines that they shipped Thatcher and all of the Tories to, and then done a serious re-education. But they didn't. And the Tories have dominated British politics for a very long time. Specifically, the last batch was the past 14 years. And the UK became unimaginably poor, while also the British wealthy became unimaginably rich, which is, of course, exactly what happens both in America and every other Western liberal democracy. Of course, exactly what happens both in America and every other Western liberal democracy, where you have people in positions of power whose job is specifically to do that. You are joking, but I unironically support that. Am I joking? Who said I'm joking?
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak soon conceded his party's brutal...
Okay, well, I mean, listen. If he really thinks that, I mean, he just doesn't... You're just against democracy. You just don't like democracy. Like, I don't... Go somewhere else, Hasan. Leave fucking America. Don't come to the UK. Go to some shithole dictatorship. Go to some shithole dictatorship that's bombed to fuck, Hasan. If you hate it so much, if you hate the fact that people you don't like, that disagree with you, and might make bad decisions, can win elections, go live in a fucking dictatorship. Go live in China.
defeat.
The British...
Do we let him back for Coachella or nah? Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, he just has to immigrate. I'm just asking him to immigrate. I'm not saying he has to be, like, kicked out or exiled, banned. I'm respectfully... I'm suggesting he immigrates. He clearly doesn't like it. So I'm suggesting immigration.
People have delivered a sobering verdict tonight.
But the verdict was also fragmented, reflecting the deep dissatisfaction across Britain. Voter turnout was the second lowest since 1885, with Reform UK, an anti-immigrant party, gaining the third largest share of...
Voter turnout was the second lowest since 1885 is the real sobering number. What the fuck? Dude, do they not vote? No, bro, because Labor sucks dick too. They're hitting America numbers. Oh, by the way, it's percentage, obviously. It's like percentage adjusted to the population. I'm just saying that, like, they're literally doing America right now, okay? It's crazy. And they don't even have a electoral college, which basically...
Yeah, it really is just totally surface level. Like, just, oh, the numbers are similar this time. They must be doing America. Oh, it's because the Labour Party sucks. That's why no one showed up to vote. Okay, man. Yeah, it can't be anything to do with disillusionment from 15 years of like, suffering. Can't be anything to do with that. It has to be that Labour are bad. It has to always be that the Liberals are bad. And that's why no one cares. Because the Liberals are bad, and they're going to let the far-righters win. That's how it has to be every single fucking time. Only narrative he can represent around.
Means that, like, many people just have the reason not to vote. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's like first past the poll, so like that's one reason, right? But even then, anyway, is it first past the poll?
First past the post voting system left it with just 4 seats. Still, its leader, Nigel Farage, the right-wing populist ally of former President Trump, won his. The Green Party, as well as independent candidates who ran on platforms to end the war in Gaza, also managed to nab formerly safe seats from Labour.
You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it.
Exactly, like, this is the other thing as well, Sam, you mean. It's hard to even tell, like, are people really not enthusiastic about Keir, or was it just that everyone assumed it was a foregone conclusion? Everyone just realized Labour were going to win. The turnout ended up being lower. How do you know they weren't? It's just, he's just immediately seen the number, decided on his analysis, because he's got a bias towards a certain perspective on it, and he's just running with it. And it's just the most surface level, lazy analysis.
For it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
Still, the sheer size of the Labour landslide gives Keir Starmer the most decisive of mandates. After 14 years in the political wilderness, Labour is back, and Keir Starmer is now Prime Minister.
And with Keir Starmer now the latest occupant of 10 Downing Street, he's a prime minister who's inherited a fragile economy, crumbling infrastructure, and a disillusioned public. It's now his job to try and fix it all.
Dude, England is so cooked. Like, dude, it is actually really bad. It is actually really bad. Like, when I say England is so poor, it's like...
Okay, yeah, it is bad. Sure. Yeah, that's why we're very happy to have Labour in.
Like,
yeah.
It's not normal, dude. It's like, we're talking Alabama poverty, okay? When I heard that it was either on TrueAnon or Chapo, there was a British correspondent they had on, talk about how, like, some hospitals in the UK can't have fat people on the second floor. I lost my mind, because, like, the ground will collapse because of the short-term concrete that they used and then just kept, instead of,
wow, that sounds like a skill issue,
like,
personally.
beefing up their infrastructure in the hospitals. They just, like, basically left it, and now it's rotting. So you can't even have fat people on the second floor. That's insane, man. It's just like, what are we doing here? What has become of the
lose weight?
Superiority of the Western world? All these people cope and talk about, like, Western world is crumbling. Western civilization is crumbling because of gay people. It's like, no, dude,
it's crumbling because of fat people on the second floor. Exactly, Hasan. Exactly what I'm thinking. It's not crumbling because of gay people. It's because of the fat people on the second floor.
Crumbling. Western civilization is crumbling because of gay people. It's like, no, dude, your concrete is crumbling. Okay,
because of the fat people on the second floor.
Trains work. The fuck are you talking about, dude? China is literally building high-speed rail everywhere, dude. Everywhere. You go to Asia, every country. You go to Africa, they're building shit non-stop. Meanwhile, the UK can't even build their goddamn hospitals, and people are like, oh, the Western world is collapsing.
Because all these fat people.
Like, because of gay people. Yeah, dude, it's gay people that's collapsing
it's fat people
and
collapsing the hospitals.
Falling apart, man. What the hell's going on? It was supposed to be a point of pride. Anyway, this is important to understand as well. Keir Starmer received fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn did in both 2017 and 2019. Remember, Mr. Unelectable. In 2017, he got more votes. In 2019, he got...
Yeah. And how many seats did he get?
more votes. Mr. Unelectable. That's because Labour didn't gain a lot.
And how many seats did he get?
Supporters in that time. Conservatives just lost a lot. No, conservatives did lose a lot. But the major problem here is that given the crisis within the Conservative Party, Starmer should be cooking, okay? Starmer should be fucking cooking. Like, what are we talking about? He's the guy, right? He's the method.
He's the guy.
Movement. That's the way they presented it. Here's the UK food bank users.
Here's the guy.
Dude. It is mint.
He will be moving. Like, what is he expected? Starmer should be moving. He's just moved in. He just got this new job, bro.
More votes. Mr. Unelectable. That's because Labour didn't gain a lot of supporters in that time. Conservatives just lost a lot. No, conservatives did lose a lot. But the major problem here is that given the crisis within the Conservative Party, Starmer should be cooking, okay? Starmer should be fucking cooking. Like, what are we talking about? He's the guy, right? He's the method. He's the movement. That's the way they presented it. Here's the UK food bank users, dude. It is
literally first weekend cabinet meeting since the Falklands War. I didn't know that. That's epic. See, this Keir is my guy. Keir is my guy.
I mean, maybe they just open up more food banks. I don't know. Data lies sometimes, but, like, even then, shouldn't we support Keir Starmer as a visionary leftist, nevertheless, who led to the UK finally back to leftism? Yes, a visionary leftist. He's a revolutionary Stalinist, actually.
He is. Yes, I agree. Unironically, I'm a revolutionary Starmerist. Yes. Yes, Hasan. I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Hasan.
Maybe they just open up more food banks. I don't know. Data lies sometimes, but like even then, shouldn't we support Keir Starmer as a visionary leftist, nevertheless, who led to the UK finally back to leftism? Yes, a visionary leftist. He's a revolutionary Stalinist, actually. He's a revolutionary Marxist. I'm super stoked for the UK. He's sending Rishi Sunak to a labor camp. All right.
Yeah, we need stormtroopers.
By a landslide. Let's look at the Starmer versus Blair versus Corbyn comparison.
Pay your taxes.
It's going to essentially more or less match what Tony Blair achieved in 1997 when it comes to seats in Parliament. But here's what's interesting. Look, this is how many votes across the country, how many people voted for Tony Blair and how those votes stacked up over the course of the count. Let's just compare that with what we've just seen for Keir Starmer. Just have a look at that. Okay, so that is the number of votes that Keir Starmer has achieved. And
the Daily Starmer, right?
Just look at how far short it is of the number of people who voted for Tony Blair in 1997. It's even short of the number of people who voted for Jeremy Corbyn in 2017, who obviously didn't even get into government. And so you can call that what you want. You can call it a change in the voting system. Well, certainly a representation of the voting system. You can call it efficiency. Whatever you call it, though, it is a thumping majority without a thumping share in the votes.
Yeah, I give 2 years before people are calling him Herr Starmer. I think he's going...
Oh, dude. Dude. I was looking for news just because I was like, I wonder what Keir Starmer is up to right now. I just saw this opinion piece from fucking The Guardian. I feel like Keir Starmer should rejoin the EU now. That'd be so epic, dude. 410 seats. You know what? Fuck it. Let's rejoin. No, we won't be holding a referendum. Let's go.
To be a Macron-style figure that causes so much disdain towards Labour and bring about the Fourth Reich in the UK. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really, really hope I'm wrong. But I'm telling you right now, it feels like we're at the precipice. If Keir Starmer continues with austerity, if Keir Starmer continues with privatization, if Keir Starmer continues with conservative in the UK, I think he's going to be a Macron-style.
It is
2 years before people are calling him Harris.
Then why?
A thumping share in the votes.
Yeah, I give 2 years before people are calling him Herr Starmer. I think he's going to be a Macron-style figure that causes so much disdain towards Labour and bring about the Fourth Reich in the...
What? Dude! The Fourth Reich. I don't think... Dude, okay, I fucking hate reform as much as the next guy. I really fucking hate reform. The Fourth Reich? I thought... That's not quite accurate to what I think reform want, really. I don't think that's the case, Hasan. I don't think that's what's going to happen, Hasan.
The UK. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really, really hope I'm wrong. But I'm telling you right now.
Well, I mean, given you've been wrong about, like, basically every other prediction he's made in this video has been proven wrong in, like, the last 2 days since it came out. I mean, I'd say we've got a pretty good indication.
Now, it feels like we're at the precipice. If Keir Starmer continues with austerity, if Keir Starmer continues with privatization, if Keir Starmer continues with conservative policies with a red sticker on it, I'm telling you, if he does that, we're talking reform UK, whatever the fuck it is. Maybe reform takes over the Conservative Party entirely. Maybe it's just simply reform. You're staring at the barrel of a goddamn gun, okay? You are staring down fascist mobilization in the UK like you've never seen. If he continues this, now maybe he doesn't. Maybe he was lying this entire time. In his entire election campaign, he was just lying, and he's secretly a committed Marxist-Leninist, and he's going to do
It's not... Okay, this is a retarded thing. I feel like... I fucking hate when people talk like politicians in content. Because I don't think there's any reason to do it in content. Like when Brianna Wu is on some shit and she's talking like a politician. It's like, why the fuck are you doing that? There's no, you know, you're not making manifesto or policy pledges. You're not deciding, making any decisions. You're just some fucking retard with a lot of money. However, the reality is that when you're operating a giant political party that may be taking over a country, sometimes in the lead up to an election, you have to say things like, we won't be doing any additional spending here. We've got no plans for any additional spending. We're not going to put any money into this. And then, when you get a, say, 200 and something seat majority in the parliament and can essentially force through any legislation that you want, well, maybe those plans change a little bit. Maybe all of a sudden, a bit of additional spending doesn't sound so fucking bad. So the idea that, oh, it's a dichotomy, that Keir Starmer has to be a complete fucking liar and he does the right policy, or he's sticking to his pledges and he's a conservative Nazi who's bringing on the Fourth Reich. That's like you're essentially setting up like a catch-22, where to be effective in politics, Hasan still gets to shit talk you. Like, to be in any way effective and get left-leaning policy through, Hasan is still gonna, no matter what you do to do that, Hasan's still gonna say you're terrible for it. Like, it's just such a retarded standard. It's such a stupid thing that you set up there. Maybe Keir Starmer was lying this whole time. Maybe he was just being modest with the proposals so that people weren't scared off from voting for him, thinking that additional spending would lead to the country being in the worst state and making their lives worse, like even worse for the foreseeable future. Maybe that's the case. Just maybe. Just maybe. And maybe now that he's got 400... Okay, whatever.
Imaginable good. Maybe. That
maybe.
would be incredibly hopeful. I just don't think that he would do that, especially considering what the party looks like now, what the Labour Party looks like now in comparison to where it was under Jeremy Corbyn, what they did specifically to like Corbynites and anyone who's like ostensibly a real leftist in the Labour Party. You know.
Was it real leftists? Did they have a specific targeting where like, we need to get rid of the leftists? Or was it people who were causing problems in the party by being incredibly, should we say, vocally pro-Gaza and potentially alienating part of their electorate? Was it people like that, Hasan? Was it people that were going to be direct oppositions to Labour winning this election?
Starmer as a white hat centrist is hilarious. Yeah, he just like faked it. He faked being a centrist, and now you will see the real red Labour wave is actually red for communism. The spirit, the specter of communism is haunting the UK. Okay? Yeah, English public on Rishi Sunak TikTok. This is a great TikTok. I know exactly what this is because this is basically the election.
Excuse me, sir. Have you got a message for Rishi Sunak?
Cough.
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 I get the fuck.
He's a knob.
Yeah, he's a prick.
He's a cunt.
Have you got a message for Rishi Sunak?
Who?
The Prime Minister.
Ah, f*** him.
Fuck off. Anyway, that's the overwhelming attitude from the British towards this administration. So if you're wondering,
I mean, yeah, that's probably the best, the most accurate reporting on the UK Hasan did in this entire video. Jesus Christ, man. On the ground, Thames and Islington reporting. Yep.